Good morning, beautiful people. How are you this morning? How are you today? Yes, it's another beautiful day. The 24th day in the month of August 2021. And this is still Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio station, powered by the Diocese of Lagos Anglican Communion. And it's about time for the newspaper review. With me in the studio is Abigail Nina Umba. Sorry. I don't know whether to call you Able Abby or I don't know whether to call you Able Abby or
They're all my names.
okay. So and I have right beside me
Bose
Abosed de
Adefuyi.
Adifioye, and of course Covenant Keeping God. Good morning.
Good
That's
morning.
Abigail right beside Covenant. Well, don't forget you can like and follow us on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Instagram at Lagoonradio.Ng, and of course you can listen via our website on www.lagoonradio.ng. Yes, in no particular order, we'll be looking at these newspapers. We have the Daily Sun, we have People's Daily, we have the Nigeria, we have the Leadership newspaper, Blueprint, New Telegraph, Daily Trust, Nigerian Tribune, This Day, Vanguard, Business AM, Business Day, News Direct, Nigerian Pilot. And of course, these are the papers we will try as much as possible to cover these papers today. Okay, I'll be starting with Daily Sun. At the very front page, we see Grazing Route. Autumn blows hot, plans to sue Buhari. And the writer under that says, Group drags president, others to court over failure to investigate missing 106 billion naira in 149 MDAs. And you can get the story on page 6. Abigail, you have something to say on that?
I don't have anything to say. Oh, this is beyond me. We're waiting for them to sue.
Okay, so you can get the story on page 6 of the Daily Sun. And at the very top of it, again, bandits slaughter 12 in Castina community. And the writer under that says 9 bodies recovered as gunmen kill 3 in reprisal attacks in Kaduna. The story is right on page 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper. NDLEA nabs wanted drug dealer in church. Seizes 2,504.8 kilograms of drugs in 5 states. Still on page 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper. At the very side of it, striking doctors reject federal government's MOU, say due tantamount to punishment. The story is right on page 27. Joy tears as 15 abducted Baptist students regain freedom. Thank God. The writer under that says we've lost. Sorry, it's quite tiny. We've lost student staff. Unijust as cries out. The story is still right on page 5. IPOB accuses security operatives of plot to disguise as ESN to enforce sit at home. And the story is on page 8. And of course, the writer under that says crack widings as group disowns Radio Biafra director Ekpa. Fan in 140 billion naira financial mess. All staff, pensioners, contractors, and the writer under that says faces 60 pending litigation on resolved concession. The story is right on page 2. And at the very bottom, we say self-defense. Masari defense stance dismisses call for resignation. Still on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. And at the very, very bottom, Plateau killings. Ikpeazu orders evacuation of Abia students. The story is right on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper.
Yeah, so he's not the only one. Other state governors are beginning to get their children and their citizens that are in Plateau State out of that state. Just in particular because of the incessant killings and kidnapping. So I think just yesterday I saw that I think it was Osun State Governor or Ondo State, one of those southern governors had equally requested that. In fact, their children are already home already. So majority of the students from in school, as long as you're a citizen of,
Is it not better?
Yeah, just come back home. Just come back home. So if Abia State is doing the same, let everybody just evacuate. Let's know who is dying. I keep asking. Every other day we hear 12 people killed, 100 people killed, people kidnapped. Who is remaining? Yeah. So I think at this point it's for the safety of everybody. Evacuate your citizens. Lagosians there, come back home. Especially the students who are in school. You went there to learn, not to go and die.
Yes,
You know,
and
so
it's even more risky.
yeah. So everyone should just come back home, and then the Plateau State governors and their security agencies can deal with this matter accordingly. All right, so we're moving on to the People's Daily newspaper, and we can see that police arrest militant spy girl over attack in Southeast. That can be found on page 5 of the People's Daily. We can also see bandits kill 9 in Zangon Kataf local government. The rider under that says release 15 students of Bethel Baptist School. That can be found on page 15 of the People's Daily newspaper. And then the cover picture of the paper is the President Buhari's son Yusuf, that got married over the weekend with his wife and other members of their family. We have the President Muhammadu Buhari, who is at second right. We also have the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo-san, who is also there. And we have the President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmed Lawan. We have the Emir of Bichi Nasiru, and of course the bride and the groom. Their picture made the front cover of the People's Daily newspaper. So at the bottom there you have 2023. Your time has passed. Governor Yahaya Bello tells Tinubu. Okay. That can be found on page 15 also. Autumn threatens to sue federal government over grazing reserve policy. Also on page 6. Police arrest 17-year-old girl who stabs a neighbor to death. That can be found on page 7. NDLEA seizes 2,504.8 kg of drugs in 5 states. And that can be found on page 2 of the People's Daily. And about people, I think also in recent time we've been seeing a lot of news of people who are being arrested for trafficking drugs, especially at the airport. People excreting large sums of drug cocaine that they have swallowed and all of that. And I'm saying, like, okay, that's too much these days. Like, is that I think a lot of people are really running out of options as how to survive, and they're just taking anything and everything that comes their way right now in the name of an opportunity to make it. So yeah,
it's a sad one. All right, moving on to the leadership newspaper. At the very front page, we have 7 weeks after 65 Bethel Baptist students still in captivity as 15 regain freedom. And right under that says Islamia pupils spent 85 days in kidnappers' den. 79 Federal Government College Benin Yahudi students 77 days. Bandits kill 2 pastors, 24 others in Benue, Kaduna and Katsina. Kaduna government orders probe of Zango Kataf killings. All these you find on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. And at the very top, private sector invests $8 billion in local fertilizers production. And the rider under that says federal government has created conducive environment for investment. FEPSAN. The story is right on page 4. You can continue reading. Now boarding fees for Lagos model colleges to stay official. The story is right on page 13. I learned they've increased the school fees of Lagos State model colleges from 25,000 to like 75,000 naira. Like, wow. Because I have a brother there, so, and I was really, when I heard that, I was really shocked. Like that. When I was there, we were paying like 15,000 naira. It was when I was still in school, they added like 10K to it. Now, like 50,000 naira extra.
That is over 100% increase. It's over 100% increase. So you go from paying 25,000 naira to paying a whole 75,000. Where do you want to get the remaining 50,000?
That's ridiculous.
How much are the parents of these children earning? It's unfair, honestly. Where do they expect people to just? I don't know whether the government.
They just come out with,
because it's easy for them to embezzle money and do anything. They feel it's easy for every individual in this country to just cough out money. It's not that easy. Where is the money in the
and
first
they feel
place?
whatever they throw at you, then of course you don't have a choice than to just grab it. anything.
Sad.
That's just so unfair. But the story is right on page 13. Change of service chiefs yet to produce results. Catholic bishops. The story is right on page 6.
Since when did they change it? We've even forgotten that we had service chiefs that are newly inaugurated after the plane crash. We forgot it.
Federal government, no work, no pay.
Policy.
No pay policy won't end strike, says NAD. The story is right on page 4. 4, 5. Looking like 4, 5, 6. It's quite tiny, but don't worry. If you get the leadership newspaper, you get the full gist. And of course, despite $500 million loan, Nigerian airports missing from world ranking. Why? The story is right on page 23. Wow. Is there. Yes, at the bottom of that, ex-PDP governors moved to produce Secondo's successor. The story is on the front page, and you can continue reading on page 3 of the leadership newspaper. Flood destroys 2,026 houses, 95 farms in Kano State. The story is right on page 12 of the leadership newspaper.
I think what is happening in Kano State with flooding is actually a warning to Lagos, because I don't know how you went from Lagos to Kano. That we are the ones that are sitting on water, and somehow this issue of flooding, because Lagos State, Nigeria as a whole, has been warned. The world is currently experiencing climate change, right? So it is bound. A lot of things are bound to happen, especially with flooding, right? In other countries right now, we're doing I stand with. So it's funny that the north is a very hot place. You don't have a lot of water like we do here in Lagos State, but somehow they are experiencing flooding, and a lot of properties are being lost to it. This is a warning for Lagos State. All these unfinished roads that they've started. If flood comes here, where they are pushing it from Lagos to the north, I don't know, but they should keep pushing it, because should anything of such happens,
Lagos,
lives will be lost. That's just it. And to be beyond properties, we will not be saying, oh, a house. No, lives will be lost, because I can remember the few times that Lagos experienced flooding. It wasn't funny. People's houses, people are literally swimming in their own houses. So if Lagos State government are not taking measures to prevent it now, that we're still experiencing some dryness, I don't know what they're going to do when the flood hits Lagos. And I pray it doesn't hit Lagos. Like, please, I'm not ready. I can only swim so far. I'm serious. Because I think last 2 years or thereabouts, here in Jakot, they were using canoe.
Yeah, I think
on expressway. So
yeah, I saw that
in
the news.
Imagine that serious flooding happens right now, where so many roads have been opened. They have not finished any construction. There's no drainage. There's no gutter.
They don't even finish one before they get onto another.
I don't even understand this government. I don't know. It's crazy.
I think it's their special advisor.
Well, anyway,
next.
The Blueprint newspaper: ban on forex sale to BDCs may drive inflation to 13.8% in August. Rawan is saying on page 28. Bandits kidnaps and Farah Monarch kill 24 in Kaduna and Castina. And that can be found on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. Monarch clerics NHRC partner against Igbo caste system, whatever that means. You can find out on page 5. Just Muslims to Christians will protect churches in our domain. The write on that Ogun evacuates 8. Yes, it's Ogun State. Evacuates 80 stranded Unijust students. Lalong begs Akeredolu. ASU decries attack on students, staffers. All of this can be found on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. Again, the picture of the president and his new daughter-in-law with the son and the other families and the vice president are also covering the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. Another that you have ICT generated 1 trillion naira for Nigeria in 2 years. Pantami. It's not Pantami that used to faint.
Yeah, he's the one.
He fainting Pantami. He has come out to say that can also be found on page 14. FCT police nab robbers, armed supplier rescue 3 hostages, and Ghanaian firm to deliver medical supplies to Kaduna by drone. Shame does not used to catch us in this
By drones.
So it's Ghana now that want to come and give us medical supply with drone. And we are here fighting Twitter. That's all right. Daily Trust calls for nominations on African of the Year 2021. Please, they should scrap this nonsense nomination. Scrap this whole Man of the Year thing. We don't have anybody who we can celebrate and say, oh, this year you
have done well for the country, or you have done well for the state.
I beg. Now that kickstart Yobe Poultry Farm is staying with 30,000 birds. That can be found on page 24 of the Blueprint newspaper.
All right, moving on to the New Telegraph. At the very top of it, Nigeria's debt to hit 38.4 trillion naira by year end. And the writer under that says, country should raise non-oil taxes to escape debt trap. Rule 1. The story is right there on the front page, but you can continue reading on page 6. Yes. Pia, no increase in petrol price yet. PPPRA says. And the story is right on page 6 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Strike continues as NATS fails to sign MOU. The story is on page 8, and well, it's quite tiny.
Just skip the pages.
Okay, so strike continues as NAT fails to sign MOU. No resident doctors will be victimized, says Ngige. I got it. Yeah. Lagos insists on reviewed boarding fees for model colleges. Yes, they really need to review it, because
they have reviewed it. They are saying, they are insisting that what they have reviewed, what they have implemented,
stays, right?
Stays. So they are not about to negotiate with parents or anybody that is coming to say, it's too much.
Lagos insists on reviewed boarding fees for model colleges. The story is on page 29. I just feel that's ridiculous. That's my one. I'm not being judgmental. It's just.
Did they increase? What is it called? What is this general payment is to pay teachers?
That's it.
Oh God!
Don't feel bad.
Okay, I'll get the words.
Rivers court verdicts continue to pay VAT to FIRS. The story is right on page 8 of the New Telegraph. Southeast attacks security. Operatives nab alleged IPOB ESN informant. The story is right on page 3 of the New Telegraph. Concern mounts over rising POS fraud as Yahoo boys now operate as agents. People should guard your ATM very well. Make use of ATMs, expert. I mean, I'm only scared to use my ATM in the market. I'd rather do transfer, or I don't even want to risk it. It's very, very risky. Not at this time, because they have every means. They have their tricks of getting your PIN and getting the necessary things they'll be needing. Your fingerprints. I mean, these people are just too smart. COVID-19 third wave deigns 500 lives in Lagos. When to win? Again, 16 killed. Houses raised in southern Kaduna. And the writer under that says, bandits release 15 Baptist students, 65 still held captive. Plateau killings, Abia, Ogun. Government moved to evacuate students from Unijos. Attacks plot to subjugate our people, MBF. The stories are right on page 3 and page 6 of the New Telegraph. And the very bottom of that, we say, smoking environment raises risk for arthritis. Well, you might want to read on that. And that's, you can find on page 29 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Abigail?
I think because of time, I think that's the most we can take, because we're having a show coming up next. Or let's see, Vanguard newspaper, liquidity, 22 companies threaten free float of stocks. Analysis seek to get tougher sanctions for non-compliance. Calls for secession on patriotic. Masiri is saying. That is on page 8. Grazing route, autumn threatens legal actions against federal government. That can be found on page 40 of the Vanguard newspaper. Strike, why we refuse to sign MOU, doctors are saying. And under that it says, government punishing doctors for its failures, insists strike continues until all demands are met by the government. Federal government will commence implementation of MOU today. All of those can be found on page 5 24 killed in Kaduna Castina attacks that can be found on page 6. Fix Nigerians' insecurities or admit defeat. Khan is telling the federal government. That can be found on page 8. Cargo's uneasy calm over concession to IOC shareholders. Lifters by NG. That can be found on page 8 also. Continue to pay VAT to us. FIRS tells taxpayers. Who do you want to pay it to before? I don't know. That is also on page 8. Bandits release another batch of... Sorry. In the way they say they are releasing them batch by batch. Really. Anyway, bandits release another batch of 15 Bethel Baptist students also on page 6. And then, of course, the front cover still on the wedding that happened over the weekend of President Muhammad Buhari's son and the new daughter-in-law's Haria Buhari all together. And okay, yeah. That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Quickly, let's just take one business newspaper, and that's going to be all on the newspaper review. Business, the Nigeria wants businesses registered in hours, yet it takes months. Of course, the story is right on the front page, and you can continue reading. No, the story is on the front page. You can continue reading on page 1. Yes. Nigeria seeks 12.3 billion naira from IFC for local vaccine production. You can read that on page 2. Michael Rea to deliver keynote address as Business Day CEO Forum. Well, the story is right on page 2. Nigerian banks play cautions in promoting dollar investment. The story is right on page 2 of the Business Day newspaper. Thank you very much for being a part of the newspaper review show. It comes up every Monday to Fridays from the hours of 9:30 to 10 a.m. in the morning. And of course, this is going to be the end of the newspaper review this morning. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Instagram at Lagoonradio.Ng, and of course you can listen via our website on www.lagoonradio.ng for more info and entertainment here. My name is Taiwo Adiola Shavligbe. I forgot to mention my name at the beginning. I won't forget it now. And of course, with me in the studio is Able Labi. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. It's really an amazing time with you. And I have Covenant right beside her. Covenant, thank you for being a part of the show too. And of course, beside me is Abose Day. And on this note, we say good morning once again. Coming right after now is the Land Property Show. You don't want to miss it. Stay connected to Lagoon Radio.